Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready, Mom?
I'm ready.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
It kind of sounds nice with 3 people. Might have to make this a thing, Mom.
One of these days, we gotta get fucking Drew on this.
We will get Drew in this.
So, happy St. Patty's Day.
I don't want to do an Irish accent. It's like my
Thank
weakness.
you, St. Patrick, for taking all of the snakes out of Ireland. Even though he wasn't talking about literal snakes.
I know they say when they say boat, they go boot.
Potatoes. Happy potatoes.
Even though now America celebrates St. Patrick's Day a little bit more aggressively than it's just another fucking day for Ireland.
It's an excuse to get drunk.
Ireland.
It is. And then you have, Chicago that's like, let's just fuck up an ecosystem of this river for a hot minute and like color it green.
Just for a little bit.
I just don't get that. It's like,
America goes fucking hard over St. Patrick's Day. For,
It
like, no
does.
reason.
Above and beyond. But today we're not talking about St. Patrick's Day itself.
We kind of are because this does happen on St. Patrick's
Day. But do you really want to do that every single year?
No. But anyway, so this is the case of Rachel Hurley.
The murder of Rachel Hurley.
Yes. So there's not a whole lot about her background. There's not a whole lot about this case in general. And it kind of irritates me because it's literally not a whole lot of information about it because the police aren't talking about it and they're not releasing shit.
What's funny is I found this case, but I didn't look into it. I was just like, here, you do it.
this is for you.
This is what I was doing yesterday. So, Rachel Hurley was born October 14th, 1975. So she was the same age as you, Mother.
Oh.
Just a couple.
75, maybe.
Yeah, a couple months younger. So, her family and friends said that she was, like, very smart. She was very sweet, but she had a bit of a feisty side.
Kind of like you.
Us Leos are.
Friend she was in October. She wouldn't have been a Leo.
Oh, yeah.
She would have been a Libra.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I don't know fucking zodiac signs.
My mom's a Libra. She's the 16th.
You're a Sagittarius, Katie.
Oh, it depends on which fucking star chart you look at. Otherwise, I'm like a weird thing starting with an O. Anyway, I'm not getting into it.
I'm a Cancer Gemini cusp.
Yeah. So, it was like that she was like silly, that she had a feisty side. So basically, she could be pretty fucking sassy and like sarcastic and everything like that. And that,
but
like,
generally well liked.
Her favorite fucking movie was Top Gun. And she loved like just rehearsing and just like retelling a whole bunch of the fucking lines from
back in the day Top Gun was a really cool movie when it came out.
So. I liked the new one, Maverick.
It's still a really cool movie. I like it. I own them both.
I mean, Maverick was really great because Tom Cruise made all of the actors learn how to actually fly the jets, and everything's practical. Nothing's CGI in that.
Yeah.
Except for them like actually like shooting stuff, but most of it's like them actually practical, and like a whole bunch of the actors threw up while doing it.
The plane that Tom Cruise is working on in the beginning is actually his own plane.
Yeah, I think it's like his own little like warehouse. He's like, we'll just film in here.
Save money, use mine. Yeah.
So, March 17th, 1990.
3 years before I graduated.
Rachel was only 14 during this time. So it was St. Patrick's Day in Jupiter, Florida. Which, great fucking name, Jupiter.
Jupiter, Florida was also the basis for the American Horror Story Freak Show episode, and I've seen a surprising amount of things coming out of Jupiter, Florida case-wise. Yeah. We should almost just do a mini episode on like
just like town,
Jupiter, Florida, yeah.
Rachel was out with a bunch of her friends, and they went out boating when she wasn't supposed to be out boating, and all of her friends had told, like everyone just kind of told their parents, like, hey, like we'll meet you at Carlin Park, which is like right next to the beach.
Okay.
Like we'll meet you at like 3 p.m. because they were all gonna get rides and like go get ready because there was a softball game.
Okay.
That was gonna be happening then. Like the Rachel and her mom were going to be selling, like, fundraiser tickets at.
So she had to be there anyway.
Yeah, so she had to leave at, like, 3 p.m.
Okay.
So they kind of came in from their little, like, boating. I don't know what kind of boats they were on. Didn't really have any of the detail for that. Her friend, Emily, but she usually is called M in, like, all of the stuff that you can find from it. And she actually wrote a book. And she was, like, the big one that was trying to, like, spread information about this case because the police were like, we don't want to say shit.
Right.
That must have been so frustrating.
Oh, right.
Their explanation from it sort of makes sense, but at the same time, it's just like, come on. Like, at this point, it's been, what, 32 years?
Wait.
Wait.
When did this happen? 91?
1990?
1990. Over 34.
34 years.
And they're still not talking about it much?
Yeah, it's still unsolved. So, they got off the boats, and it was like kind of a gloomy day. The beach was empty, and they were like, hey, like, Rachel, like, wait up, like, we're all gonna go walk to the park together. And she's like, no, I gotta go meet my mom, I'm gonna be late, I gotta go. So she, like, kind of took off without the group, and no one saw if she took the main path alongside the beach, or there was kind of like a
shortcut type thing, or
when I say desire paths, do you know what I mean by that?
a desire path is the path that human motion naturally makes.
Yeah,
there are
so
actually
have,
college
yeah.
courtyards that they'll let the students walk through the grass, and then they'll just put the path there.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's basically like you'll see, like, I guess for people that might not know,
Little dirt tracks, cutting the corners.
Like, if you have a weird sidewalk that makes you go in a weird thing, people will take quote-unquote shortcuts through it. And it's like, the desire of movement. It's kind of like the best way to describe it is think about, like, game trails. Yeah. How, like, deer kind of move through the woods or something like that.
You find a great game trail, you can follow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of... So there was one of these that kind of went through a wooded area to the park. It was kind of a shortcut. So they don't know if she willingly took that way or if she went on the beach, because she was just, like, gone by the time they all got off this boat. So 3 p.m. rolls around, and, like, everyone else is there with their parents, and Rachel's mom's asking her friends, like, where's Rachel? They're like, she didn't come here? And they're all like, no.
I'd be in full panic by that.
She took off. She said she was going to find you. Like,
right. So obviously they called the police, and this is where it gets kind of really frustrating. Because over 100 deputies from the sheriff's office showed up.
Just to that initial call?
For them being like, there's a missing person, and like, this area can be kind of dangerous and everything like that. So they were like, okay, well, like, we'll come help look up along the beach. Maybe she fell and she's hurt.
Right.
Who knows? So the women kind of stayed with the kids, and, like, all of the dads went, and they went on a search party. And out of those, like, 100 cops that were there, and, like, all of the media that showed up at this point, only, like, a small handful actually helped in the search for her. So...
Why so little?
I don't know. I really wish I could get a hold of the book, but her friend Emily said that a lot of them were just sitting in their squad cars. So they showed up, but they didn't do anything.
I know some people like that at work.
Right, and, like, the media were talking to the cops that weren't doing anything, so they weren't helping with the search. So the dads were like, we're gonna go search those woods, because in those woods, it was commonly known, on, like, the outskirts of this park too, that there was kind of a homeless community back there. So they didn't know, like, maybe one of them did something to her.
Right.
So, like, we're just gonna go check that out. Maybe she's there. Like, she could have just been, like,
right.
Conversation.
Yeah.
She was, a nice person, but she was smart. So they're like,
I don't think she'd just stay. Like, she knew she was in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. So this group of dads were the one to find her body in the woods. And then it took them coming out being like, hey, we found her, we think she's dead. That the cops finally were like, oh.
Maybe I need to get out of my car now.
Yeah.
Okay,
boy.
Let us go look. We'll go make sure. So They found her kind of in a state of undress. She had been raped, and the police never stated if she was strangled or if she was smothered, just that she had died from asphyxiation.
Okay.
And this is where the police get really dicey about it, because
my stomach's just sort of...
So there was no eyewitnesses. They had like no suspects. Obviously, like at first they were like, okay, well, someone from the homeless community definitely did it.
Right.
And they did DNA testing and all of this, shebang, and no one came up. Over a course of a few years, they had like tested like over 127 men.
Because I'd imagine they had a sample from her.
Yeah, she had DNA on her. Police kind of ended up thinking that, like, well, since this guy's not in this system, then he must have not have done this before, so it must have been his first crime, and must not have wanted to actually kill her, and just wanted to, rape her.
The murder was an accident?
Yeah, so they immediately went, like, well, the killer probably
with
didn't
asphyxiation?
Yeah.
Doesn't really sound like an accident.
So... this is when they started to hold, like, a lot of the information back, stating that they, quote-unquote, this is the reasoning, that they didn't want to tell the public anything because they wanted to be able to catch the killer and have the killer tell them that information so then they could actually arrest him.
So they can get the confession, yeah.
Which, in some instances, yeah, that's a lot of the times that's how a lot of killers get caught, because they say information in their interviews
that
to
wasn't
police
released.
that wasn't public.
Yeah.
And if the killer is watching, he gets a one-up on what they have.
You gotta do a little bit of information, because that is how you get the public involved, and they could be like, well, I know a person that fits this description, or I know this.
Yeah,
and
there should have been some kind of
profiling
on it. Yeah.
They were given, like, scraps, and the media, like, took it and they spun a completely different story than, like, what people are saying. So, like, the media made it seem like the beach was packed. It was like a bright sunny day.
Okay. She was just stolen in front of this crowd of people with cameras and nobody stopped it.
Right.
And this is where the case goes fucking cold from here. There's nothing else about this case. They didn't give anything else out. There's been no new evidence, nothing. There's been nothing.
Over 30 years later, and they weren't like, hey, here's a little bit more.
Nothing. So, people that know her best friend has mainly been, like, the one heading this up. There is a Facebook page of her name. There's a Twitter page. They constantly are putting information about her case. They even taken cases that are very similar, that are from the same area, and they're putting those out, and they're making them public knowledge to try to get something.
See, I love that
personally,
when people do that.
With how shady the police are being about it, I kind of think it could have been an
one
off-duty cop.
Yeah, that was my first impression, because they're all sitting in their car.
Because they're two big theories.
And not only that,
they were required to be there. They weren't required to help.
Right.
That's the way they were seeing it, probably.
Two big community theories are that it was someone that she knew that could have been a cop's son.
Yep.
Or it was a cop themselves.
Okay.
And those kind of make sense without hush hush.
That was my immediate. That was my first thought. The fact that they weren't, and then with the DNA,
it would also explain why
database.
somebody wasn't in the system, because even if it was a cop's son, he's probably gotten him out of some shit before.
Right.
And like that's where this case just ends.
And nobody's going to pick it up because it was a
right.
And they're not going to disclose anything because they don't close cold cases.
And if they had DNA, you think they would have kept some DNA to test at a later date.
Well, they still have the DNA.
Because well, then why aren't they testing it? That's my court. Because the database has grown significantly.
They're not going to willingly test it against officers from that era in any way like that.
No, but just run it through the database and see if someone actually pops up now.
Right.
Well, in order to run a DNA check, don't they have to have, like, reason to suspect?
Yeah. Well, okay, so a few years ago, the state of Florida gave a couple police departments and labs a grant to, because testing DNA is hella fucking expensive. It takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little faster now because they can just throw it into like an AI algorithm, and it's not somebody,
visually lining things
doing
up.
Genetic markers.
Yep.
They got a grant, so they are going to be testing a lot more DNA soon. But it's not just for her case. It's like every missing person kind of cold case kind of thing they're testing against.
Yeah, that's what I think. It needs to be reopened before they can.
Well,
It's still open. They never closed the case, but it's not active.
Ongoing, yes, active.
You know, cold cases, they're cold for a reason, but it's just like, I do believe that it was probably someone higher up in the community that they were just like,
Cover up.
yeah. So that was...
I agree with that.
Kind of a crazy one for St. Patrick's Day.
Crazy one for
I
St.
wasn't
Patrick's
expecting
Day.
it to be such a heated case when I picked it.
It's sad. And I really wish that there was more to it, but there's not. Like, there's nothing talking about, like, how her clothes were. There's nothing talking about...
Which to me is very strange.
Naked. There's nothing about, like, if something was tied around her neck. Like, you usually, even in cold cases that aren't solved, you have that information to the public.
And they haven't released any information about, like, persons of interest that they had talked to at any point, so...
They had people of interest that were just conveniently people who were currently being looked into for other sex crimes. And then they DNA tested all of them, and all of them came up not it, so...
Okay, so they were just looking...
Like, oh, it must be this
they were
fiend
just
that's
looking
going
at
on with
other
it.
repeat offenders that had been caught. They weren't looking at...
At anybody new or anybody there.
And that 127 was over, like, 20 years, by the way. It wasn't... First thing, it was over years.
My personal opinion is it was someone in higher up, and
I really do.
I do, or a cop's son, I believe, because that's way too hush hush. Even
and I don't think it was an accidental thing.
Even for the 90s, that's way too
hush
hush.
You get sloppy. So that was a very upsetting case of Rachel Hurley. I wish there was
Happy
more.
St. Patrick's Day!
Go get fucking drunk, pour one out for Rachel.
Eat some corned beef
responsibly.
If you were of legal age.
Drink responsibly, but pour one out for Rachel.
Yes.
Yes.
Who never got the chance, actually.
No.
Which is kind of
family's
shitty.
never gotten closure.
She would have been...
Nobody's gotten closure.
My age.
I mean...
Which is...
You don't have to call yourself out.
48.
40? Okay. I was
48
years
48, young.
But then I was like thinking 47. So she would have...
She would have been the cool aunt by now.
She would have lived a whole fucking life.
That sucks.
14, that would have made her a freshman, wouldn't it? You were a freshman?
Yes. Yep.
Or sophomore? Because you graduated in, what, 93? Yeah.
I was 17 when I graduated, so in August, so yeah.
I just realized.
So long ago.
The age gap between you two is not that much.
It's not, but we're like the
She
the
was
same.
born in 92.
Yeah.
Not that much.
Mm-mm. I don't even feel like there is an age gap, even though I'm older.
Bella, you were purring so loud. You gotta get that on. There you go. I like that she tried to sniff and it was still going, so it was just like...
We will see you guys Monday for our regularly scheduled programming.
Bye.
Bye.